Hello, and thank you for watching this cast. XAP Automated WAN Replication is an orchestration framework which includes a set of prepackaged configuration blueprints designed to allow you to automate the provisioning, configuration, setup, and management of XAP WAN replication on your existing data center or cloud. In this video, we'll demonstrate the deployment of a WAN replication topology on the EC2 cloud for 2 sites, including how you can use the out-of-the-box blueprints to deploy XAP on 2 different sites, how you can deploy XAP replication gateways on each site, how to deploy a replicable space at each site, how to dynamically configure gateway targets on each site so that replication commences, how you can customize the deployment. A typical XAP replication installation requires the installation of XAP itself, along with the installation and configuration of the gateways, including specific container and networking configuration. With this solution, you can set up an entire WAN topology and provision it on demand. A typical manual deployment of XAP replication involves provision of the machines with Java, downloading the proper version of XAP, configuring networking, configuring VM settings, etc. on every cluster node, and on every replication site. In addition, gateway targets must be deployed and configured on each site so they can communicate, potentially from behind firewalls. XAP Automated WAN Replication Deployment centralizes this with blueprint-driven configuration powered by Gigaspace's Cloudify. Rather than many separate steps on many different machines on every site, a single configuration step is required, and then the cluster deployments are automated. Once the clusters are deployed, a couple of remote commands are executed to configure spaces and gateways. This makes XAP WAN replication configuration centralized and repeatable, ideal for integration into existing DevOps continuous delivery regimes. XAP cluster replication requires multiple sites. To demonstrate replication on the cloud, I've installed 2 instances of Cloudify on EC2. The first step is to install XAP clusters on each site that include XAP gateways. For simplicity's sake, I install only a single container on a single gateway on each site. To limit the amount of typing, I've created a simple application blueprint that installs the 3 required services: XAP Management, XAP Container, and XAP Gateway. The only significant feature of the application blueprint is that XAP Management must be installed first. I'll launch the blueprint for both sites. While the XAP installation is in progress, we can observe it in the Cloudify UI on each site. The URL is built from the public IP of the XAP management host at port 8099. Now let's fast forward to the completion of deployment. Now that both sites are deployed, the next step is to deploy spaces that will hold the data to be replicated. Spaces that need to be replicated must have a gateway targets reference in their definition and the name of the local site. I'm naming the sites A and B for this example. The spaces can be deployed directly from the Cloudify shell by running a remote command on the XAP management instances. I've put the package on S3 so they can be referenced from the cloud. Now let's look at the XAP UI. From the Cloudify UI, access the XAP Management Service instance and launch the XAP UI. Note that both spaces have been deployed. Now, the gateways need to be configured. This is done by executing a remote command on the XAP Gateway service on each cloud. Prior to running this command, we need to gather the public and private IP addresses of each XAP gateway container on each site. The structure of the command is fairly complex, so let's walk through it. The command starts with invoke XAP gateway, install gateway. Following this is the space name to be replicated. Next comes the local site name. After that is a list of replication pairs. Each pair is a from/to, two-item list. In this case, just A and B. Next comes the lookup definitions for each site. This is a list of maps that defines how each gateway site identifies and communicates with the other. Each site definition is named via the GW name element. Information provided includes the site's address, discovery port, and COM port. Note that the ports must match the port definitions in the XAP gateway recipe on each site. Also note that the local gateway address for a particular site is its private IP. The final part of the command is for NAT mapping. Any public IPs used, for example, remote gateway addresses, must have their public/private mapping here. The public IP comes first, followed by the private. We'll run this for each site. Now the replication gateways are communicating. The XAP UI shows that the replication is alive and healthy. In order to show replication functioning, I'll SSH into Site A and run a simple script that writes data in Site A. Now, let's look at the Site A UI to see the data that has been written locally. And then Site B to see replicated data. In this video, we saw how to create and deploy a replication topology with some configuration and a few commands. For configuration options on XAP, it would be useful to review the XAP Automated Deployment Screencast. Thanks for watching.